are, day 74 of our devotions. And man, we have been journeying for a long time with these devotions, and it's been great to have the opportunity to be gathered around the Word together, even though we're doing this remotely. So here we are, day 74, and we've been in the book of Acts for a little bit of time now. And now today we're going to pick back up in Paul's story, and we're going to be in Acts chapter 23 through Acts chapter 25 here just for a few minutes. Now, where we left the scene yesterday, as Jacob and I led the devotion yesterday, is Paul had been drugged before the Jewish council into the barrack area, and he had tried to give defense of himself, and really to the point now that the Jews were so angry at Paul as he had been drugged in before the high priest. Paul, seeing that there were Sadducees and Pharisees there, decided to bring up something conveniently about the resurrection to get them arguing among themselves. But it still became so heated that it looked as if Paul was about to be torn to pieces. And so the Roman tribune, or the judge that's there, basically had to order that soldiers go in and remove Paul by force so he wasn't killed. Well, Paul then will go to Felix. Paul's nephew will learn about a plot from some of the Jews that they made a vow, they made an oath that if we don't kill Paul soon, we are not going to eat or drink until we kill him. And so they come up with this scheme that they're going to ask some more questions of him and try to kill him. So the tribune hears of this. He sends Paul off with a huge guard who takes him to Felix, the governor, as they leave Jerusalem and go to Caesarea. And Felix is there, and Felix is familiar with the way, familiar with what Paul is preaching. Felix also is, his wife is Jewish, and Felix has a lot of questions. It really appears that in these chapters that he is a seeker. Yet it also tells us that Felix thought that maybe somebody by some chance was going to try to pay some money to get Paul out of prison, and so he was really holding on to him, one, as a favor to the Jews, two, because he was asking questions, and three, because he thought that he may gain some financial reward from keeping Paul back. And so we see that Felix left him there. It says there that he left him there for over 2 years before Felix, as the governor, was replaced. Now, the new governor who comes in, and it happens there at the end of chapter 24 and verse 27, says, when 2 years had elapsed, Felix was succeeded by Porcius Festus, and desiring to do the Jews a favor, Felix left Paul in prison. So he was there for a while, and this new governor who's come in has basically said, hey, listen, Felix had really no way to sentence you because of the Jews, or no way to sentence you because of the Romans. And he says, I don't really have a way to sentence you either, but Paul, I don't really even understand why they're accusing you or why they're still so angry. But wanting to basically keep the peace and do the Jews a favor, he decided, you know what, Paul, why don't I just turn you back over to the Jews and let them have their way with you. And this is what Paul says in the middle, or the beginning of chapter 25 in verse 10. But Paul said, I'm standing before Caesar's tribunal, where I ought to be tried. To the Jews I have done no wrong, and you yourself know very well. If then I am a wrongdoer, and I've committed anything for which I deserve to die, I do not seek to escape death. But if there is nothing to their charges against me, no one can give me up to them. I appeal to Caesar. Then Festus, when he had conferred with his council, answered, to Caesar you have appealed, and to Caesar you'll go. So we see that Paul will begin his journey to Rome after this. A couple things I just thought about real quickly this morning as we spend a little time together. One is that there are seekers everywhere. It was really discouraging to me to see how close that Felix got to trusting. He was asking all these questions about the judgment and different things like that you can see, and about faith in Jesus Christ. You'll see those things there in chapter 24. And he was so close, yet he still didn't come to believe in God, and it was really kind of holding Paul basically to earn some kind of money. How aware are you that there are people around you that are seeking, and what are you doing to try to help answer their questions? And I know that we're not the end all be all, and really God's word is the authority. And there's no way we can answer everybody's questions. There's some things that God only knows. But we do have the opportunity, and we are called as ministers of reconciliation, trying to reconcile people to God and reconcile them to one another. And so, how are you looking for the opportunities to continue to point people to that? And that's exactly what we see Paul do during this time of waiting. You know, it can be extremely difficult to have to wait on the Lord. I think of stories like Joseph in the book of Genesis. For years was left into prison, yet he still honored God. And what he tells his brother at the end, he says, what you meant for evil, the Lord meant for good. And God was using this. And what kind of faith it took for Joseph to be patient and to be faithful in those things. You see, as he serves Potiphar, you see as he serves in the prison, that everybody basically releases authority to Joseph, and they trust him with everything that he has. He was totally trustworthy, and even in the middle of this terrible situation, Joseph was seeking to honor God and obviously seeking God. Paul, the same thing here, seeking God and seeking to honor God. So as you're waiting, or maybe you're frustrated with just this situation and everything that we're having to deal with this virus, and how life has been changed and how it has been modified for us, I just want to encourage you. How are you continuing to point people to Jesus? How are you doing it, trying to draw so close to him that is your main goal, and in every opportunity you're looking to glorify him? And what are you doing to look at those around you and listening as you hear people saying things or mentioning things or asking questions where they may be seeking? So today, I hope it encourages you. I hope it's a good reminder for you as you're out and about, or you're doing whatever you can do to be looking for those seekers. And in everything, maybe you are in a difficult situation and a difficult time of wait. I want to encourage you, stay faithful, draw near to him, and glorify him through this situation, so that God can take the good things and the bad things. He takes all those things and he works them to your good. So anyway, I hope it's encouraging to you today, and we'll see you soon.